comfort TV. Comfort TV is like trying to sit on a nice new couch and try and find your place when you want the cushions to be just the perfect range so you can sit comfortably. It takes a while, but after a few tries of sitting and getting yourself all snugly, it's usually pretty good. And there you go, video's done, over, click off. No, actually, I have much more to say. Sorry, but for those of you who are still here, you'll be glad to know that I have a lot more to say. Comfort TV is definitely anything but comforting. And I'm not trying to say that to get clicks or, you know, be different from everyone else's perspective. But I genuinely think it is a problem. Because when you rely on something that's the only solution to make you happy, or and it only exists on a screen, yeah, that can be tricky. And I just want you to know that you're not alone in that. It certainly is the case for me. And you could say that about sports. This is the part where I say, oh, anything can be comforting, but TV is different. TV is obviously what most of us introverts and extroverts and ambiverts and all in between rely on. Because if you're like me and you have a motherfucking huge TV, you're obviously going to use it, aren't you? And whenever your dad says, oh, I've got streaming again for 3 months, you can use it if you want, I'm always just like, ugh. You'd think I'd be like, yes, streaming! You showed us. No, I fucking hate streaming. I think it's the worst thing ever. When I see a new show that's being advertised, I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to see it. Which is why during the Hollywood writers' strike, if that even is a thing anymore, inside I was like, yes, because then there's no new shows being made and my mind can be put to rest. Obviously I feel sorry for the people who were working, the crew and stuff, but as for the Hollywood actors, I was like, sucked in. Streaming, that shows how much we rely on streaming TV, so then maybe comfort TV will be gone, you know? And I'm not trying to exterminate comfort TV. I know it reaps many benefits for us as a society. It makes me, as many other millions of people, feel much better about ourselves. I hope the blanket is not too distracting.
Yeah, it just
stresses me out when there's just so many shows to watch. And I know I have a choice. I don't have to watch all of them. No one's telling me to watch them. Sometimes my dad would be like,
Schitt's Creek, you should watch Schitt's Creek.
And I'm like, no. I could, but...
I could, but...
Because there's just too much out there. And I only want to watch what I want to watch, and then if what I want to watch turns out to be what I don't want to watch, then it's all like... Ugh. But as for the shows that I do like, I mean, it's not all bad. I love watching The Office. Nothing takes me back to the very first time, 2 years ago now, when I watched The Office for the first time. That was one of the best shows I'd ever seen to watch for the first time. I don't think I'd ever felt that way since I watched Friends. Friends was the first sitcom I ever watched. Rest in peace, Matthew Perry. Friends was, the very first sitcom that I watched. I originally wanted to watch Seinfeld because I heard about Jerry Seinfeld through Miranda Sings on that Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee episode that everyone absolutely hated, but honestly I didn't really see much problem with it. It's just another guest on the show. It's just that a lot of people didn't know who she was. And I found out he was a really successful comedian.
I know
you don't
love
watch
your
a show on TV? You don't have a show?
No, I don't know how people watch these shows. They're so too long.
Stranger Things, too?
No. Yeah, I know.
That's a show.
I know.
That's a show.
I know that's a show. I know it's a great show.
You gotta get a show.
Yeah. I know people, they wander around their workplaces trying to...
You don't have one show.
No.
You never did Game of Thrones, nothing. You never got into it.
I'm sure it's great.
I know.
I don't have 90 hours with nothing to do. I don't know how people.
You know, he had a show called Seinfeld, and then I started watching little clips of Seinfeld, and I found it really funny. I was probably like 11 or 12 at the time. Still kind of young, obviously, to understand that comedy. I mean, I still am young now. I probably shouldn't be watching shows like that, but I said to my dad, okay, can I watch Seinfeld? And my dad wasn't a huge fan of Seinfeld, so I was like,
I don't really think Seinfeld's a bit too adult for you.
when a parent says that, that's when they're in the wrong. That's when the show is actually for you. But he made me watch Friends instead, because he's like,
I think you're gonna understand Friends.
and I like to say that I was the first person ever in my class or my grade to ever discover that show, because for some reason, like that year, everyone started learning about Friends and talking about Friends, and it was like really racking my brain. And like, obviously it's not surprising, Friends is a huge show. That definitely was like,
This is my show. What are you doing?
so then I kind of like lost a bit of connection with Friends. I mean, it's still a like, great show. I can see why it's going on for so long. But The Office definitely was one of those shows that
I am Chandler, and Joey, and Pam is Rachel, and Dwight is Kramer.
like Seinfeld, I watched all of that, absolutely brilliant. Like that's definitely up there on one of my favourite shows. But The Office, just like the way it was filmed, the American version, I just want to clarify. I watched the British version because that's the original. I wish I could watch it for the first time again. Like that's how much of an impact it had on me, because I didn't know what was going on. I was completely like in inertia, or just like there was so much mystery to it, that unknowns, that it was just made obviously for a great watch. And that you can probably say that about any like show that you see for the first time, but with The Office, like it just had that magical power about it. And I guess it sort of connected with me that they were just these plain looking actors, ordinary actors, and it just felt so homey. It felt so like, yeah, close to home. So that was definitely when I thought, oh, this is what comfort TV is. This is why people call it comfort TV. And so The Office was my reckoning for that. And so, yeah, I did watch that show more than once. I probably watched it like 2 times. After that, I had to stop, which is obviously nothing compared to like the most diehard Office fans who watch that show. Like Billie Eilish, for example, has like watched episodes while she's pooing. Yeah, she told Rainn Wilson that, and he was like, that's very disturbing. I love Rainn Wilson. That's how comforting it was of a show, and so I just don't think I can go back to it, because it makes me sad when I watch it, because as much as The Office is very realistic, shut up, motorbike, it does a really good job of, one of the reasons why it stands out from sitcoms like Friends and Seinfeld is obviously it's a very realistic what might actually happen in a workplace or a school, which is why it resonates with so many people, especially young people my age, or people like primary school students, and even, hell, 3-year-olds even finding The Office funny, which I'm not quite surprised by, because when I was 3, I thought Carol Beer was the funniest thing in the world. Like, I still, like, my dad used to show me that stuff, YouTube clips of, like, Little Britain and stuff. That show's obviously cancelled. But, yeah, it was brilliant. Some of the sketches obviously didn't age well, but, yeah, that, like, the fact that I was, like, 4 or 5 and I knew exactly what was going on, and I found it so funny. Yeah, that definitely was, like, my first comedy experience. So yeah, as much as they do a good job of, you know, not making it out that way, it's even in documentary style, so you know, it feels like everyone's talking from the heart, and it's so real, apart from the odd comment from Dwight or Creed or whoever. But yeah, I just watch it and I'm like, I laugh and I'm like having a good time, but then the episode ends and I'm like, that wasn't really real life, was it? Now I'm back to my boring old life. Like, compared to my life, The Office. They don't know it, those characters, but they have a much more interesting, fun life than I do. I know that's definitely a stretch because this is fiction and these are fictional characters. But, yeah, like, what they get up to in that office is definitely the opposite of dull. And, yes, sure, there's ups and downs. There's, like, they fight, they don't get along with each other. And Dwight and Jim will throw punches at each other, both physically and mentally. But it's still, you watch it and you feel good, obviously, because it's comfort TV. Obviously, that's what it's for. But yeah, then you're like, oh, you realise, hang on, that's still not really real life. That's not what working in an office is like. And it should be literal. I should be able to figure that out. It's not rocket science, but it's still like, once you realise that, it's like, is this real? This isn't really comfort TV, because it's only for like a fleeting moment that I'm like,
I'm in this reality that's like, it's in my TV, and I'm like swept away from my current problems and life situations.
they roll the credits and it's just like, yeah, that's done. I was telling my mum about The Office, how much I loved it, and she was like, and I said, it's just so realistic, and she was like, yeah, but that's not what's going to happen in real life. And I was like, yeah, because she's like, if that was the case, everyone would be working in an office, because it would be like the easiest job in the world. You wouldn't have to work, you could just have parties all day. Your boss is Michael Scott, so even though they hate him in that show, like, we love him as the audience, because Steve Carell is just such a lovable human being, and his acting and comedic acting and improvisation is just brilliant. He's such a talented actor. I don't know why my dad doesn't like Steve Carell, but one of the reasons why my dad can't watch The Office is because of Steve Carell. He just says that show makes him feel weird or uncomfortable for some reason, which I guess like shows that it really does try to be realistic, and most people probably don't, they're not used to that, or they don't like that. So like, same for me, like watching it for the first time, it's like, this is what I've never seen. Like, it's these situations could happen in real life, like not all of them, but some of them. But then you realise, like, oh, Michael Scott would probably be fired straight away if he was doing this. Like, we wouldn't be able to have a boss for that long, like, we can't have blah blah happen to us and just that sort of thing. So yeah, it's hard to accept, and so yeah, I don't think I can watch The Office again for a while at least. Maybe in like 5 years when I like move out, or just new life journey, move to Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I have a major life change, I might revisit that show. But for now, I'm kind of like, I'm happy like going on my own little journey and discovering shows that aren't necessarily new and aren't necessarily what people are talking about. Like, this is the show you must watch, so good, blah blah blah. I just like finding like Bad Education, for example, was a show that I discovered like literally by chance on an ad, and that was a comfort show for me. Obviously, at the same time, it was like The Office in that obviously it's going to be exaggerated for the purpose of being a comedy show. It's not going to be real, 100% real life. I do wonder if we'll ever get a show like that is based on reality 100% and is not at all what we would expect from a TV show. Maybe that's already happened, but in that case, probably no one would watch it, because the point of a sitcom is to like take us away from our current life situations and what's happening to us, and just hear these bizarre remarks and things. And so yeah, I'm really digging Fresh Meat right now. That's the show, because I love Jack Whitehall. His comedic acting and stand-up is just so good. So I discovered him from Bad Education. I just really love his work. And my dad was like, oh, you should watch, oh, that guy, I saw him in a movie that came out this year, blah, blah. And I was like, I just don't really want to see that. Like, I obviously didn't say to his face, like, I don't want to watch that. So I don't want to sound rude, but yeah, it's just like, that's where it's kind of like, oh, I have to watch this, oh, I have to watch that, oh, I have to watch this. And it's just like, just watch what I want to watch. And it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's actually harder than you think, and it's actually getting quite warm. I don't know why I decided to bring up the link with me for the purpose of this video. I thought it would look nice. But, yeah. I'm not going to say, if you have any good show recommendations, let me know, because I'm obviously not going to listen to you and watch your show. Sorry about that.